someone say no, see it on your face.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Sophie Hansen. This is my daughter Alice.
Hi.
Just going to start with a quick acknowledgement. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I extend this to any First Nations people watching this evening. Tonight I'm thrilled to be joined by my beautiful daughter Alice, who's 14, for a very special cook along in anticipation of Mother's Day, which is only a couple of weeks away. We are cooking from the new book that I wrote with my mum, Annie Herron, who, thanks to COVID, is unable to be with us tonight. So we've got this generation instead. Around the kitchen table, which actually we're in our kitchen here, which is where we shut the cover. And today we're going to be cooking this pie with a beautiful lattice pastry made with rye flour on top. In the book, we've talked about, in the book we use apple and blackberry. Unfortunately, blackberries are just out of season here on the farm. I should tell you where we live. We're on a property just out of Orange, New South Wales, about 4 hours west of Sydney. And there are no more blackberries. We've picked and eaten all of them. So we're going to use some apples, a couple of knobbly ones from our own little orchard, and some plums. And the really nice thing about this recipe is that you can just put any seasonal fruit in at all. So you could do berries. In summer, it's beautiful with peaches and a sprinkle of cardamom, maybe poached quinces, pears, absolutely any seasonal fruit, which is why I love it so much. So we are going to get cooking and we're going to chat a little bit as we cook. But first, Al, tell me, what do you think of this pie? Is this something that you enjoy making and eating?
It is. It's really easy and it's really yummy.
Yeah. It's just very homely. It's very, very simple, but it feels a little bit special because of beautiful lattice pastry, which I'll show you guys how to make. So, Ali, could you chop up the apples? We have got one of these, I kind of just show, sucked on, these apple little spiralizers, which we absolutely love. Had it for many, many years, but obviously just a peeler would be fine. Anything that makes it easy for you. So while Al's going to do that, I'm going to chop up the plums. And as I said, any seasonal fruit at all would be good. And this is a really lovely thing to make for Mother's Day brunch. You could even have it for breakfast with some yogurt. Love a breakfast pie or tart. Is that going all right?
Yes, all right.
Or I think for dessert or brunch with some beautiful cream, we have just out of Bull and Dubbo, Little Big Dairy, make the most beautiful dollopy thick cream. But anything you can get your hands on, a really nice natural yogurt with a little bit of honey stirred through is a nice thing to have as well. Or ice cream. Now I'm going to put these plums into a saucepan with a little bit of sugar and cinnamon. And once Al's finished manhandling the apples, look, normally with any kind of pastry, you want all the ingredients to be cold before you start. So we would have cooked the fruit in advance and had that in the fridge and put the cold pastry on top. But because this one, we're just going to put the fruit straight into the pie dish. We're not actually going to line it with pastry. You could absolutely do that. I'm not here this time. Doesn't matter so much because we're just going to put the pastry on top and straight into the oven. But if you were going to line it with pastry, I would recommend making your filling a bit fuller. Okay, so we've got our saucepan and I've got my beautiful plums and our beautiful apples. Whoops. This I bought years ago when the kids were tiny, and this little apple thingy has been the best thing ever. So
it's so odd it doesn't suction anymore.
Yeah, it is. It's had better days. Just I think one more, darling. Then we've got a bit of sugar, half a cup, I say in the book, but really with this sort of dessert, it depends on the fruit that you're using and how sweet it is. So these apples are Granny Smiths. They're quite tart. So I've got half a cup in here for 4 large ones, but you know, adjust that to taste. Honey would also be really nice if you prefer not to use sugar. Any kind of sweetener that you prefer. You're right with that one, darling.
Yeah.
Al's doing very knobbly apple that we picked off our tree at home, which is definitely not a thing of beauty, but delicious nonetheless. So we've got a good pinch of cinnamon and sweetheart. Oh, you can do that. Would you please then put a splash of water in that and pop it on the stove about medium heat and cook that for me. So we're going to cook that for about 5 to 10 minutes, just until the fruit softens. We're going to cook it again, obviously, in the oven. So just a splash of water, darling. Yep. I'm just going to get the pastry. It's in the fridge just here. I made some earlier. And if we've got time, I'll show you how easy it is to make the pastry by hand. I'm a big one for not bothering with machines. I think by the time I've got my food processor out and done it and zhuzhed it up and washed it and put away, I may as well have just made the pastry myself. But obviously you do whatever is easiest for you. I just like using my hands when I'm cooking. So I'm just sprinkling this pastry with a little bit of flour. Now you can see, how's it going, darling?
Good. I put it on medium heat. It's just
Perfect.
Sorry.
Alice is just behind me at the hot plate. So I should have also said, I'm so sorry, guys. Please jump in at any point if you have any questions at all about what we're doing, about the book, anything. Alice has got my phone here when she's not cooking apples, and she's going to be reading them out. So please jump in at any time. Hello to any friends watching. This is something a bit new to us, doing Facebook Lives like this. So forgive us if Alice is a social media pro. If I stop up along the way. But anyway, this pastry is a really, really nice, simple one. I have used, in the book I say 200 grams of rye flour, but actually I didn't have the full amount. So I've done half plain flour and half rye, which is actually really nice anyway. I think with a recipe this simple, like any simple recipe, it's the sum of its parts, right? So you want really beautiful fruit, you want a really interesting pastry. The rye gives it a kind of extra layer of sort of nuttiness and colour and flavour, which I really, really like. But don't go out and buy rye flour, especially if you've got flour in the cupboard that you're happy to use. I think, you just got to use what you've got. But definitely have some fun with different flours with pastry. And you will notice that some of them are thirstier than others. Rye flour is definitely one of those thirstier flours. That's why it is quite nice when you're just starting out to use things like that, those sorts of heavier flours. Do a bit of experimenting and maybe start half and half plain flour, half rye, or wholemeal, or
Do I just keep mixing them?
You can just leave it for a little bit, I think, darling. Okay, so I'm just get rid of that. Rolling this out. So as I said, we're actually not going to line the tin with pastry. You could absolutely do that if you like, but I always find it makes it a little bit heavy for this kind of thing. But again, you do you. Do you want to have a go rolling it out?
No, I was so
No, you'd be good. Here. There you go. We did wash our hands before we started. So you go nice and gently, go one way all the way. Yep. And then let's pick it up. And when you're rolling the pastry out like this, you want to keep an even weight as you go. Don't just like push down on one and and let's flip it over. So because you don't want it to stick, that's the worst thing. When I first started making pastry, if my friend Elise is watching, she will remember I used to cry because in my little uni flat, I'd buy all this butter and I'd make it and it would stick and I'd be like, this is horrible. It's really just about using lots of flour so it doesn't stick, and just like anything, just practice. Okay, nice and even the whole way. Yep, let's flip it over again. Pick it up. Yeah, no, that's okay. So it's sticky.
Actually, Mum,
no, you've got it.
The apples are boiling, so
she's running away on me. Here's a question. Oh, Kathleen. Hi. Yes, this is a sweet short crust. I should have mentioned that. Well, sort of a short crust. Yes, it is. There's a little bit of icing sugar in the mixture. So it's 200 grams of flour, 40 grams of icing sugar, a splash of ice cold water and 150 grams of butter. As I said, at the end, I just thought I'd get this in the oven now, so hopefully I've got something to show you at the end. I will show you how to make the pastry, but yeah, it's a really basic, and you could use any short crust pastry that you like, or a store-bought one, or a puff pastry. I think just whatever you've got, whatever you're comfortable with. I think the main thing is just to do it and practice it and find flavors and combinations and dishes and things that work for you, and just make it your own, because that's the best thing about cooking, I think, is making a recipe your own, finding it something that you love, and putting your stamp on it. And Jeanette O'Keefe, oh hello, Jeanette has said, loving this. Thank you, Sophie. Now it's our pleasure. Any other questions, please hit me. We have got the fruit cooking on. How's it going, Al?
Yum.
It's going well?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is probably ready. Now, Alice, I'm going to leave you with her. I'm going to get some baking paper. You can just talk to the lovely people for a minute. I am just here. I'm getting something out of the cupboard. I'm going to get careful. I think that's enough. Oh, I just got some baking paper. Now, what we're going to do, Al, is we are going to cut this into thin, well, not too thin strips. I'll show you. Because remember, we're doing a lattice top like that. So we're going to cut strips.
Well, if I were cutting it,
I'm not going to tear strips off you, don't worry.
No, but Mum, if I was cutting it, you'd ask me to get it.
Well, that's true.
A lot of trouble.
That
right
is
now if
true.
it was me.
I would not condone the chopping of things straight onto the bench, but we're on a line, and I just don't have a big enough chopping board within easy access. So I'm going nice and lightly. I have to also say these little tomato knives, my absolute favourite thing in the kitchen. I use them all the time. So I'm cutting very gently, strips about that thick, and we go all the way down. And I've probably got a little bit more pastry than I need, but that is all good because I'm going to re-roll it and make a little galette.
Hey, Mum.
Often, yes, darling.
When should you take the apples off the?
If they look nice and soft, are they looking soft?
No.
Okay. But it's probably fine. You could take them off, I think. Here, in the very corner of the picture, there is a little galette that I made last time with the leftover pastry. So it's basically you just roll it out again, put the fruit in the middle, pinch the sides up to make a crust, and then you've got a nice little chef's tart for yourself. If you are thinking of making this for Mother's Day or getting someone to make it for you, you can absolutely do it all in advance, like the whole thing with the pastry as well. Keep it in the fridge for a day or two and then just cook it straight from the fridge, which makes it easy because, you know, you don't always want to be rolling up pastry and things like that when you could be lying in bed with a cup of tea and a book. Or maybe you do want to, whatever. All right, so you can see I've got my pastry. How's that, sweetheart?
They're good. I just put them on.
Okay. All right. This is the fun part. I love doing this latticing. So as I said earlier, in a perfect world, and if I was super organised, that fruit we would have cooked in advance and had in the fridge cooling. But I wanted to kind of just show you how easy it is to make it all at once. So it doesn't really matter at all. Also, frozen fruit is totally fine for this. You could just tip frozen raspberries straight into your dish, cover it with a pastry, maybe sprinkle a little bit of sugar on if you don't think they're going to be sweet enough. Any more questions? No more questions for now. I think we've probably got enough pastry for our lattice. Would you like, darling, to roll that back up?
And put it back in there.
Yeah, roll it back into a bowl and put it back in the fridge and wrap it back in the pastry there.
Yeah.
And we will, what you could just do is like, wrap it up and pop it back in the fridge, and we will make a galette with that afterwards. Okay, so we've got our dish. I'm not going to bother greasing it or anything just because it's fruit going in it, and we're going to spoon it out, and it's going to bake into a delicious puddle of cinnamony apples and plums. And actually, I think having the plums in there adds a beautiful, thank you, honey, tang as well. So Al has done a beautiful job cooking our fruit down. Oh, I wish I could show you. I really need one of those mirrors on the roof. It's delicious. The plums have given it a really nice colour. If you would like more colour, can you just spoon that in? Yep. You could grab a spoon from the top drawer maybe. Yep, be easy. You could, rhubarb would be really nice for this. And to give it extra colour, if you wanted to have that kind of blackberry feel, just tip in maybe a quarter of a cup of blackberry jam or raspberry jam as well. And that would be a nice thing to add instead of the sugar if you're trying not to make it too sweet. So Al is going to, do you know what? I'm going to get you a bigger spoon. I'm not being a control freak.
Do you want all the moisture then?
No, I was about to say, we don't want all the juice because it just becomes a bit of a soggy mess. So I would
just kind of get
just get the fruit because it will release more fruit as it cooks. And you will find it depends what kind of apples you're using. Some of them release a heap of liquid and some of them not very much, depends how fresh they are, all sorts of things. So just like when you're cooking anything, always just be looking and testing and trying and thinking about it and thinking, oh, that's probably quite a lot of moisture. I don't want my tart to be too sloppy. And
Mum, we've got a question.
Oh, yes.
Will the rye flour make as light a pastry as wheat flour?
No, probably not. Like rye flour is definitely I don't know the technical terms, and there's probably someone watching who can explain this better than me, but it feels like it's a bit of a heavier flour. And you can even see the colour is darker. You can see sort of the grains in there. It's not as sifted, it's not as fine. But I quite like that for something like this. It really makes it feel a lot more wholesome. And it actually just, to me, adds a bit more flavour. This is a really, really simple dish, like super simple. It's just fruit with some pastry on top. Do you know what I mean? So if you can add a few layers of interest with a bit of a different flour in there, why not? But again, thank you, darling. Again, totally fine to use plain flour. So before we put our strips on, we're going to just get our little egg wash ready. I was just showing Alice, this is the tiniest egg you've ever seen, and it's the only one our chickens laid today. They must have known I really, really needed their help and being grumpy with us. So anyway, could you crack that into there, darling? And I'll just get some cream. Just 1 minute.
And would you like me to just whisk it, Mum?
Yes, please. So any kind of pastry, I love to put, or even a scone, like this really, really simple egg wash. Again, I hope I'm not like making this too basic for everybody, but 1 egg and about a tablespoon of cream just gives it that beautiful glossy look to it. And then we're going to sprinkle it with a little bit of sugar on top at the end. I was just thinking if there's any more questions. Right, we're ready to go, because the minute we put this the pastry lattice on top, it will start to cook just because the fruit is hot. So I want to get everything ready before we start to go. Okay, that's ready to go. Now, this is the fun part. So we are going to lay pastry strips. Again, I wish I had one of those cameras on top like the professionals do. And you can make them as far apart or not as you prefer.
Is that whisked enough?
Perfect, darling. Yes. Okay. So you can see I've got 1 layer there. And this is the fun part. So I'm putting 1 on top here, and you're just going to kind of lay 1, lift 1 up, leave 1. So you're kind of plaiting it almost. I don't know how. Weaving, that's the word I wanted. Okay. And then we're going to go here and this side.
It's a bit of a labour of love, this pie.
Well,
Not
it is,
really,
but it's kind of quite fun. Do you want to have a go of doing this, honey?
Sure.
Okay, so that goes there. So it went over there, we're going to go under here. Like that, sorry. Okay, and then, yep, so lift that one up. Yep, and put that under. Perfect. Yep, and then, yeah, easy. Like if you make, actually in the book we've got, I'll show you, 1 sec. You keep going, darling. You're on fire. In the summer section, we've got these really cute daisy paper hearts and a template that you can use to cut them out with paper. And it's the same process. So there's the cat. Oh, you'll have to wash your hands now. So the cat's, so these, it's the same process of the weaving. Anyway, okay, Al's just washing her hands because the silly cat jumped up. All right, I think we are pretty much done now. So we are going to just trim the edges. Okay. We're going for time. We're good. And now, Al, you could brush the pastry.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks really pretty. See? Cute. Oh, oh no. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
And I just quickly just do this.
Yeah, brush that with the pastry. Yep. Yep, with the pastry brush. You could do it a bit more. Yep. Yeah, but you don't want to move it around too much, I guess. And then sprinkle it with a little bit of sugar, and then that just goes in the oven. You know, if we weren't focusing on a couple of things, we might have put a little bit more pastry on, so it's a more cohesive lid. But it doesn't matter; it's going to be beautiful like that. And while that's happening, I'm going to re-roll the other pastry out and show you how to make a quick galette. You don't want to waste anything. And darling, once you're done, you could just put that in the oven. So the oven has been preheated to 200. You want it to be quite hot, so it just goes in and starts cooking straight away. Sprinkle with sugar. Yep. So good. So easy. Just a really nice homely dish. Like all the kids could get involved with this. And you know, you could make the you could put this on a whole. Thank you, sweetheart. You could make this on a baking tray and do a whole like lattice lid, like a big rectangular one, which would be quite fun to get everybody involved in, or everybody could do their own, whatever works. Okay, so that's in the oven now. Please, if anyone has any other questions, comments, not a question, a comment kind of thing, I'll take it. Hit us up. Otherwise, I'll just quickly re-roll this pastry. I would have preferred to let this rest for another sort of half an hour, but that's okay. It's rolling out thanks to some nice flouring. And this little galette, have we got any fruit left in that?
I can get some more.
Do you want to do any more in the
I've got like some
yeah, actually, let's do fresh peaches, fresh plums. If you just grab the chopping board for me.
How many plums will we need?
How many plums? Four plums. We're going a little bit off piece here, but it is in the book, so it's all relevant. The book came out a couple of weeks ago, and we have a few signed copies left on Booktopia. So if you would like one that my mum, Annie, and I both have signed, we would love you to jump on. That's okay. That's fine.
Do you want to cut it apple up into smaller bits?
Sure. Yep. So for those who don't know the story of the book, which probably many, Mum is an artist. She's a really fabulous art teacher and artist, and I write about food and cook food. So we brought our two loves together, food and art, into this book on the kitchen table. And yeah, it's just a really hopefully heartfelt, generous invitation to just sort of come together at the kitchen table and do little things like this with the family, with your friends. There's lots of craft, there's lots of cute little drawing exercises. It's definitely a cookbook, like it's mostly recipes, but there's lots of beautiful prompts in there as well. So I really hope that it brings you a few little moments of joy that are within reach of everybody. So this is my galette. I haven't actually made it too thin. I didn't want to. Actually, I might give it one quick roll out. It's a really, really beautiful pastry to deal with, actually. It's very forgiving, as you've probably noticed. And Ali is doing a beautiful job cutting my apple up.
It is really hard to cut up.
Yeah. It is. Well, we're so used to our little machine. And we've probably got another 5 or 10 minutes, I think. So, yeah, if anyone has anything they wanted to ask or share, please hit us up. But as I said, like this pastry, once you've got a good pastry recipe under your belt, you have so many great desserts ready to go in your back pocket. So a simple tart like the lattice one that's cooking, I hope it'll be ready in time to show you guys. At least we know what we're having for dessert tonight. Or for dinner, rather. and having the little bits of extra pastry. It's a really nice thing to do, just to make a little tart for yourself. And you could absolutely use the same pastry recipe, but leave out the sugar. You could possibly put some grated Parmesan cheese in, and do a savoury tart. The same thing, but instead of fruit, you could do some sliced tomatoes, some zucchini. Yeah, go nuts, have fun with it. Thank you, darling. That looks fabulous. Okay, so we've got a bit of sugar left over. Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to show you how rough and ready this is. Okay, I've just sliced up my plums, and Ali has just chopped up those apples really beautifully, like that. And I'm just going to like literally use the pastry as a little plate to toss it all together. And honey, is that the oh, could you sprinkle some cinnamon? I think that might be a question. Belle Jones has said, this is such a great cooking session. Oh, thanks for your tips and insights. I'm really glad, Belle, that I'm not just rabbiting on like a lunatic and it's not boring. Yeah, what do you reckon? Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Do you know the other really nice thing to do is, and I talk about this in the book, there's a recipe for toasted cardamom shortbread. If you toast like whole cardamom pods in the oven for like 5 or 6 minutes, just till they turn brown, and then blitz them in your coffee grinder or mortar and pestle, and then sieve it, the ground cardamom you're going to get is just next level delicious, and that would be amazing here. Particularly good with stone fruit, I think. Is there a little question there? Oh, our internet's gone a bit blurry. I'm so sorry. As I said, we're in the country, and sometimes this happens. Hopefully it'll be back in a sec. I might just push on.
Wonder who's watching too much Superstore, Mum.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to just push on, and I'm really, really sorry if it's a bit blurry. I'll just talk up a little bit louder. So, okay, we've got our tart here, and I'm just going to pinch the edges together. Actually, I'm going to just spread it out a tiny bit more. How's it going? Any more? Oh, you can still hear me. Oh, I'm glad. I'm sorry that you can't maybe see me as well. There's not much I can do from this end at this point, but I'll look in a second. Anyway, hopefully you can see me. I'm just pinching the edges together. Al, could you pick up the camera, like the computer, and just hold it down maybe? Just because it's one of those things that's quite handy to see, assuming you can see it. Okay, all right, ooh, perfect. See, I'm just kind of using my finger and thumb to pinch and make a cute little crust. Oops, it is a bit warm, the pastry, I'm afraid. So it's a little bit sticky. Just gonna flour my fingers. See how cute this is? Do you know what you could also do at this point, just so it doesn't dry up, is get some jam or marmalade. I might even do that now. And just spread that over the top. You could even melt, you could put it back, thanks, darling. You can even melt, like heat up a little bit of jam and brush that over the top so it's all glossy and delicious. But that's a really yummy little added bonus from our tart with the extra pastry. We might put that in the fridge. Oh, we'll do it afterwards. Okay, I'm not sure, unless I'm happy to stick around if you guys are. I know everyone's probably got places to go and dinner to eat, but the pie has probably got another 10 minutes. But if anyone has any other questions or thoughts, if anyone's got the book and has tried anything, or I don't know, hit me up. Otherwise, Al, do you have any questions or thoughts?
No, good job, Al.
Poor Alice has been stuck at home with COVID for first a close contact for a week and then have it herself. So she's just desperately wanting to get away from us, I think.
No, of course not.
I know, I'm joking, but she's been a great help. It is actually smelling delicious, I have to say, yes.
What are we doing for Mother's Day?
Oh, what are we doing for Mother's Day? Well, you tell me. We're going to be here at home. I'll tell you what I would love to be doing. Hint, hint. Have a sleep in, read my book in bed with a cup of tea, and go up on the hill behind the house, which is my favourite spot. There's a really beautiful view with one of these delicious tarts, maybe some
presents,
sparkling rosé. No, I don't want presents. I just want to have a really beautiful day in the sun with my family. I think But yeah, a sleep in with a book would be beautiful. I'd love to think that all of us get to have a little line and be treated for Mother's Day or any day. But yeah, that's what I would like to be doing. And I guess I would like to be with my mum as well, who I was so lucky to write this book with. I'll show you Mum, who was supposed to be here, but yeah. Anyway, that's Mum and me. And actually, Ali took that photo of us. So, and you did get a credit. Yes. So that's my beautiful mum, who is just so clever and has such a beautiful way of encouraging people to try. You know, there's lots of little drawing prompts in the book. And as Mum always says, you know, you don't sit at a piano and expect to play Beethoven's Fifth. And you don't like walk into a kitchen without ever, you know, cooking before and expect to do a 10-course fancy degustation. It's just practice, finding things that you love to do. What do you love to cook, Al?
Tacos. I don't know, it's a bit easy for Duke of Ed. Anything under an hour.
Oh yeah, Al's doing the Duke of Edinburgh and they have to do some cooking tasks. So tonight we're having tacos that she has made. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to actually, it is smelling really good. Do you want to go and check it and see if it's looking nice and brown?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
question?
From Janet O'Keefe, I have made a potato tart and cheese from Tart from good. Oh my god, I can't.
Potato tart and cheese tart for Good Friday. Oh, great, Jeanette. Thank you. That's a nice pastry recipe as well. It's the sour cream pastry, which is delicious. Can you please tell us what your sourdough starter is? Oh, well, funny you should ask. It's actually rye flour, which is why I use rye flour, actually, because I always have it at home. It's what I feed my sourdough starter with. On the Around the Kitchen Table website is a little video how to make a sourdough starter. But basically, if you've got a friend who's using sourdough or making sourdough, just ask him or her for some of theirs, because every day you're refreshing your starter. So there should be plenty to go around. You can purchase online or you can make your own. It takes about 3 weeks if you're making your own, of like feeding it every day and just nurturing your little sourdough starter. But the magic thing about it is it's just water and flour. It just takes whatever's in the air and just ferments away and just creates these beautiful loaves of bread. I really do love making my sourdough.
I think Mum loves her starter more than she loves us.
Oh, that's so not true. That is not true. But it's just a really, like, there is no, and I say this because the whole sourdough process is in the book. I do firmly believe there is no satisfaction in the kitchen greater than that of pulling out a beautiful golden loaf from your oven. And it's definitely one of those things. It's just like anything, it takes a bit of practice, but you know, it is delicious. I'm just going to show you. So here's the potato chard and cheese pie that Jeanette made for Good Friday. I'm so glad you tried that. It's one of my favourites. And oh my god, the tart is smelling delicious. And
crisping up and bubbling.
Yeah. And here, so the sourdough basics are in the book as well. And there is also the videos where I talk through the basics. So, guys, we won't keep you too much longer, but if anyone wants to stay in touch with me, I would love it if you come and find me over on Instagram. You can find me at Local Lovely, and I also have a blog, which is Local is Lovely. You could Google that, or it's www.local-lovely.com. I think that's about it, really. Yeah. I would love it if you'd find our book somewhere. It's very, it was a labour of love. We really hope that you enjoy it and that you find lots of good things in there to make, cook, create, and do every day. And before we go, I'm just going to pull. Do you want to get that?
I don't think it's ready yet, but it's slightly brown. But Mum,
yes,
you can wait and put it on your Instagram story.
I can do that. I'm just going to show everybody how good it's looking. Look. See, it looks amazing. It's bubbling. I will put it back in for a bit longer, but it's going a beautiful golden brown, and the sugar that we put on the top is crisping up. So that's it from us, I think. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Alice, for cooking with me today. We loved spending some time with you all. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums and carers and anyone who is celebrating on that day. And yeah, we hope you enjoy our book. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Now you got something to say now. See it on your face.